Cascade Hoops Talk, bringing the world NAI basketball one podcast at a time. Good morning, Cascade Hoop Talk. Billy D. How's everybody doing this morning? Boy, the season's getting close. Are you getting excited? Well, if you're not, check your heartbeat. Hey, this morning we have Chase Teichmann. He's the head men's basketball coach of the Florida College Falcons. This is his third year. He's made an immediate impact down at that program. Culminating last season, they went 31-4. This native of Brentwood, Tennessee, he's really made an impact, as I say there. And I think they're going to be pretty good this season. We're going to talk about his team. Of course, it's going to center around Matt Simpson, one of the most prolific scorers in NAI basketball. And I think you're going to enjoy listening to Coach Teichmann talk about the Falcons program there at Florida College. Please like and subscribe the podcast. Please like and subscribe. And let's take a listen to Coach Teichmann. Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, I'm thrilled to have Chase Teichmann. He's the head men's basketball coach at Florida College Falcons. Hey, Coach, thank you so much for being on the show.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You know, you're a young kid growing up in Brentwood, Tennessee, and when did you start thinking you wanted to be a basketball coach? Did you bump your head, or what happened?
No, I always loved sports, basketball and football, always my favorites, even still to this day. But I think you had somebody else. No, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and someone asked a friend of mine this question. His answer was so similar to mine, and basically it's like when you're growing up and whether you're playing pickup football with your friends or you're in a fantasy football league or you're in college and you're on an intramural team, like I was always that guy who was picking the teams or building my team or the commissioner of the league. I always just kind of been in those situations. I knew I wanted to lead people and put people in position to succeed in whatever they're good at. And that didn't have to be sports. I was a general management major in college. And so whether it was coaching or something, I knew I just wanted to manage something.
Yeah.
When my older brother went to play college basketball at Freed-Hardeman, I had a good relationship with his assistant coach. And then that grew to a good relationship with his head coach, Jason Sheldon. And that's when I sort of got some sort of ties to college basketball, and I fell in love with the NAI level. And then sort of had something crazy happen when I was in college. I sent a couple of my friends who were players to Freed-Hardeman, and one of them got Conference Player of the Year, was an All-American, and then the other one was Newcomer of the Year and was First Team All-Conference and was an Honorable Mention All-American. And that's kind of when Coach Sheldon was like, hey, do you want to be a GA here? And that kind of officially got me into college basketball. I was a student assistant one season for Chattanooga basketball when I was there for undergrad. But I would say midway through college is when I kind of was like, if I can do this for a living, I would love to.
So you've been, as I said, you've been at Florida College. This is your third year. Now, did I read it right? Your first season at Florida College was the first winning season in the NAI for the program?
That's right. So we joined in 18-19. So my first season as head coach was just our third as an official member. So it's not like we were in this 20-year drought or something.
Okay.
But that was the COVID shortened season. So I think we only got to play 26 games. We were 14-12. But that was kind of, to me, a building step for our team, into last year. And obviously for me, going into my second year, learned a lot of things. And that was a good year. It was challenging, but I think it helped us a lot.
Coach, you're known as a great recruiter. And does that reputation come because of the people you've been able to get, from the outcome, or is there something special you do that makes you a good recruiter? Or maybe it's probably both, right? You have to be a great recruiter to get guys, but what do you think makes you a good recruiter?
I don't know who tapped me with that, but I think I just try and be myself. And, like I said, when I was younger, I, always had a good relationship with guys on, whether it was our team, where I was a student assistant or when I was a GA. And I just kind of always have just felt like I need to be myself. And, I talk to kids a lot, text them as much as I can, not to the point where I'm annoying them, but,
Right.
I'm just really constant on communication. Certain guys that are local, try and go to as many games as humanly possible, make them, see how bad you want them, form relationships with their families. I know with Matt Simpson, his senior year at Plant City, I probably went to 15, 16 of his games, sat with his family. I was new to the Tampa area then, and so, if I ever had something go wrong with my car, or like needed a spare tire or something, I would just go up to Matt's dad and ask him, and he'd tell me where to go. And his grandpa gave me a ride home one day from the car, from the shop, and just kind of forge those relationships. And his last game, he fouls out and they lose, and sitting there with him and his family, and I just always try and make it really hard for the kid to tell us no. If they're struggling to tell us no, then I think we've done the right things. And so you try and forge relationships, and then other than that, I think you just got to know what you need and know that somebody's going to fit your program, both play style and locker room,
Right.
that they're going to get along with their teammates. And we have a great group of guys that get along phenomenally and never have to worry about bad conflict. They're all super close. That's why road trips are so fun. So I don't know if it's just from sheer luck or if I have much to do with it, but we've been blessed with a great group of guys and talented players as well.
You do have a great group this season. Definitely, I want to talk about that. But before I do, we talked about that program there, the Falcons, being a relatively new NAI program. You're a relatively new coach there. Talk about the program that you're building. What is your vision for the ideal Florida College Falcon program?
Man, last year we accomplished most of the things we wanted to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say we overachieved because I knew we could do the things we did. I will say our record was, probably better than what I thought it would be. But, last year's team, I guess, that was pretty close to what we want to be known for, and just keep building on that. We really pride ourselves in unselfish basketball. We like to be near the top of the country in assists per game. We really value shooting. So obviously you want to, space the floor and hit a bunch of threes, and that'll open a lot of other things up. But we also, when I took over the job, we were a really poor defensive team. We averaged, I think we allowed 90 a game in conference play. And, we have defensive goals, and we met those last year, and we made huge strides my first year. So we really want to be able to, and everybody says this, but just hang our hat on the defensive end and make teams play against our half-court defense. And we think that'll, get us where we need to be, because we think we can always usually rely on our offense. But really, as a program, also just want to be known for, again, that unselfishness, and that's not just statistically on the court, but just how we treat each other off the court. And we have a lot of Florida guys, so we're pretty. Everybody from our team is pretty much within 2 hours of our school. Maybe there's exception of a few guys, 2 Alabama guys. And got a guy from Australia, but he kind of lives down here now anyway. So we sort of already have that close-knit group, and I guess that's just kind of what we're going for is those relationships, and it kind of translates onto the floor a lot.
Coach, before we talk about this year's team, there's a couple guys that have graduated, moved on, and meant a lot to your program. Chinedu Okonkwo, I probably messed up his name, and then DJ Dokes. I mean, could you say a couple words about what those guys meant to your program?
Sure. No, you didn't butcher Chin's name, but I just call him Chin for short. But Chin came in last year as a guy with 1 year left of eligibility, just his COVID year. He's had a crazy college journey. He came over from Nigeria. He went to McCook Junior College, played there 2 years. He's got a crazy story. He almost kind of gave it up and went back home, but stuck it out. Had some injuries there. Ended up going to West Florida, Division II, tore his ACL there, got a medical redshirt year, then played one season off the bench for them. And then transferred to Wayland Baptist, played there during the COVID year, had a pretty good year, and then had some family, like some cousins here in the Tampa area. I knew one of his former teammates at West Florida really well, and he sort of put him in touch with me and just said, hey, you guys should link up and see if this is a good fit. He wants to play his last year in Florida, and me and Chen went to Chipotle one day and just kind of went through what he wants in his last year, what I want in my, for his last year, and they synced up really well, and man, it went pretty perfectly. And he's a great person. Had a great year for us. Was a really, really good inside post presence that we just have not had. Yeah. It's really hard to find at this level. So was really happy for him. He fit our team perfectly. And then DJ Dokes, he's from Houston, Texas area, played 2 years at Highland Community College in Kansas. So we got him he's been here he was here 3 years. He got that extra year for COVID. When DJ came here, we weren't great, and he wasn't in the best shape, and he wasn't having great years. Had some bad injury luck, had some wrist trouble the end of his first junior year, and just wasn't producing a ton. But senior year got a little better, and then last year, that COVID year, came into the year, I told him and a couple other kind of foremen that we have, hey, this is going to be kind of a revolving door unless one of you guys sort of separates yourself. And funny thing, first game of the year, he travels on his first 3 touches. And I sit him down with like 17:45 on the game clock, and I'm looking at my assistant like, what is wrong with this guy? Well, sure enough, rest of the year, starts all 35 games, tears it up basically the whole year. He had a one stretch in December where he just couldn't hit threes, but besides that, I mean, he lit it up. Conference tournament was huge. I think he didn't miss a shot in our conference championship game. National tournament, had a really big putback late to kind of give us that lead over Evangel that we sort of needed. So I mean, and he's an amazing person. Still local. Both him and Chin still in the Tampa area, local. And we had our ring ceremony about 3 weeks ago and gave them their conference championship rings. And DJ's a volunteer assistant this year for us and comes when he can to practice. And Chin and him will both, and even though they were here for 3 years and 1 year, obviously big difference there. They're both always going to be a huge part of our program, and not just one of those things you say, but one of those things that you really mean. And has already happened. They're already around a lot, and so both those guys mean a ton to me and to our school.
I love that story about DJ. The having to make that turnaround after that bad first game. That's a really great lesson for any young player listening. You're going to have bad stretches where either you make a bunch of turnovers or you can't shoot for a couple of games. And that's not what makes or breaks you as a great player. What makes or breaks you as a great player is how you respond to that. Do you go sulk on the bench and then come back, or do you become more determined and fix that, or get back in the gym and shoot more? It's how you respond, because you're going to face adversity no matter how good you are. Absolutely.
And I failed to mention one of DJ's best qualities was he was, a very vocal leader and just a beaming light of positivity. And so, that's something that I challenged our team with in one of our first film sessions this year. Is I was showing some defensive stuff, and DJ was and he took the most charges in the whole team by far. It's not even close. Mm-hmm. And I was showing some of his charges, and I'm like, hey, who's going to be this guy this year? I mean, he's gone. So who's going to be this guy? I mean, DJ was unbelievable. And, those charges, those dirty plays that they don't show up in the stat sheet still. And they're just huge winning plays. And so, man, I miss him, and hopefully somebody else, he can rub off on somebody else.
Yeah. Somebody who's your hero and the other team's pest, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You have a really great core coming back this season. I know fans in Tampa want to hear about that. You got 3 starters coming back, and of course, it's all going to start Matt Simpson. He's one of the most prolific scorers in the NAI. Just talk. I interviewed him last season after the season ended. Really great guy. Talk about Matt and his game.
Yeah. So blessed and lucky that he wanted to come back. His plan, originally before the season last year was to not come back and to just finish and go pro. But, we talked about it after the season, and man, I'm giddy about him coming back. You said it. I mean, he's an amazing player. One of the things about Matt there's guys like this in the NBA and the NFL that people talk about and make documentaries about, and just the work ethic and how it never changes. And it's so cliche, but anybody that would ever walk into our practice would see, like, Matt is just relenting. I mean, he's got a sprained ankle or hurt back. I mean, he gets hurt all year, every year, never misses a practice, refuses to miss a practice. This is year 5 for him. He's played for me all 5 years. He knows how I like things done. Practice for him may not be as important as it is for a freshman or a redshirt freshman or a sophomore. So I kind of talked to him about, hey, maybe we give you some days off here and there. No chance. He's not going to let that happen. Holds his teammates accountable, plays so hard in games, and none of that. I haven't even mentioned his skill set yet. So, I mean, unbelievable shooter, best finisher I've ever coached at any level. Really has become a good defender. We put him usually on the other team's best player every night. You're struggling for areas to find that he needs to improve in. I mean, he's an unbelievable athlete. He's super durable. He's unselfish. He's just one of those unicorn guys that you'll probably never get to coach again.
When I was researching him before the interview, I found a picture of him when he was in high school in the local paper just in his street clothes. He was just a little skinny guy. And
Yes.
this is the reason I bring that up is this is a guy, he wasn't just built to be a college basketball player. He became a college basketball player. He made himself a college basketball player.
You're right. And so he went from that little skinny kid to just, a lean, you wouldn't call him a beanpole, but just, a lean college basketball player. And then this summer he's put on 18 pounds of muscle. Also grew out his hair a little bit. So he's going to look different. They're going to look different to some teams, but everybody we've seen so far is just like, man, he's huge. I don't think he's lost his speed. He definitely hasn't lost his shot. I think he's added a couple of, dimensions to his game. Hopefully it's scary for opponents. I know he didn't play as well as he wanted to in the national tournament last year. So maybe that had something to do with it, but really excited about, he takes that stuff really seriously. He's in the weight room all the time. And so you're right though. He was kind of a munchkin back in the day.
I just couldn't believe it. You've got two other starters coming back. And I honestly went back to your roster again because Anthony Bitar, 9 points, 5 rebounds last season. Fat Cleveland, just love his name. But anyway, 7 points, almost 4 rebounds, 63 threes. These guys are sophomores. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't a typo in your roster.
Nope. No. Ant is a true sophomore. Fat's the COVID year sophomore. So Fat, this is year 3 for him. And he was, Southern State's freshman of the year, his first year, and 15 points a game, shot 40% from 3, just had an unbelievable year. He started every game he's played in here for us. And last year, another good year, got second team all conference. He was second team all conference his freshman year too. So he's always been an all conference guy and really runs the show for us. Really athletic player, scorer's mentality, but does a great job of getting the ball to our shooters. Always looks for ways to improve. Very serious-minded person, takes film study really serious, and just a guy you can rely on. Anthony Bitar, really lighthearted, funny, hilarious kid. Super skilled, just really skilled, big body guard. Shot it really well last year. Really skilled finisher, great passer. Both those guys, really good passers. Ant got a lot of starting experience for us last year. Learned a lot. Thought he played really well in the national tournament. He's kind of a point guard in sort of a 3-man's body, so we sort of play him at the 3, and then when Fat's out, he runs the 1 for us. So
okay.
With Matt too being sort of a combo guard, we kind of have just like a 3-headed monster with guys that can handle, pass, and shoot. I think it makes us hard to defend. And Ant, he just needs to keep getting in the weight room, stay, get in better shape, keep working on his shot. But he's going to be a really good player. And so having him and Fat for this year and 2 more after that is really exciting.
And then you've got a couple of seniors who gave you good minutes last season coming back. Brian Chong, 17 minutes a game, 7 points, as well as Ray Chow, 12 minutes a game, 4 points, 3 rebounds. So that senior leadership coming back is going to be pretty important.
Yeah, those guys, Brian Chong's been here. This is year 5 for him too. It's a COVID year. He actually came in on our JV team, played there 2 years, averaged about 30 on that team. And, he's just a sniper. That's just what he is. He's got a really quick first step. Best shooter I've ever coached. Unbelievable person. And then Ray, Ray's a guy that can play multiple positions, 6'8", got great size, can shoot the ball well, 40% from 3 last year. And he's a guy that he's a role player and he embraces it. He's started a handful of games in his career, but he knows he come in, play the 4, come in, play the 5. Chin last year couldn't play in our national tournament, so Ray played 20 minutes a game, both those games at the 5, and that's asking a lot of him, especially at that level versus those kind of guys, those kind of athletes. And hey, we did enough to get by for that first game, so really value Ray. Him and Chong both have no ego whatsoever. Which is just huge for seniors, to give an example to those younger guys. There's going to be games this year where they're going to come in for 6-7 minutes or maybe not play a game, and I don't have to worry whatsoever if their buy-in level is going to change at all. So I appreciate those guys, and man, next year are we going to miss them.
And one more senior, kind of a pleasant surprise for your program, Ethan Smith. He had some knee problems. He left college basketball for a season, but he's going to be back this year too. And I think you said he's looking pretty good so far. Yeah,
Ethan. He's been a productive college player, and we're gonna squeeze the little basketball he's got left out of him this year. He's kind of a 1 through 4 guy who can he's just a perimeter player. He's a guard, so he's gonna play wherever we need him to, and a lot of those minutes might be at the 4, and he was a real thin guy, and he still is a lean guy, but before he was really thin, and he's put on some good weight. It's a goal of his to be a really good rebounder this year, and he's already been showing that in practice. I mentioned how good of a passer Fat and Ant were, and Ethan, he's right there with them. May even give them a run for their money. He's a terrific passer from if he's playing the 4 from that 4 spot. So he really pays attention to detail on defense. He's a really good shooter. So he's a guy that just, you kind of put anywhere. He's kind of a glue guy. And he's really been bought in and has good relationships with his teammates. So we're super happy to have him back and really hope that he has a great year.
Yeah, you're really going to count on him and Ray Chow to hit the boards. I mean, that's kind of your height, couple 6'8" guys. You're really going to count on them for rebound. Of course, Matt doesn't miss a lot, but if you're going to shoot the ball a lot, though, you need to get those offensive rebounds.
That's right. Yeah, we're not super tall. We got some 5 men we haven't mentioned yet that we'll obviously rely on the boards a lot. And our guards too. I mean, Matt's been a prolific rebounder his whole career, and I'm sure he'll do the same thing this year. And you mentioned Ant earlier, averaged 5 rebounds a game last year. He's a really good defensive rebounder. So we're just going to have to do it by committee. We value skill and athleticism kind of over height. If you had to take 2 out of 3, those would be the 2 that we're taking every day of the week. So, but no, we have, Jashavius Purdue and Calvin Finch, and, Steph Martin, who are all kind of in that 6'6" range that are true 5 men that, and by committee, those guys are going to have to rebound their tails off too.
So Coach, you got a couple of sophomores, probably give you some good minutes. I know EJ Wynn, he played quite a bit last season, and then you got Drew Kramer as well.
Yeah, EJ is going into year 3. He's the COVID sophomore. He's played a lot of minutes for us. Probably played more as a freshman than he or I both thought he would.
Yeah.
And then last year, started some games early, and then we kind of talked, and he prefers coming off the bench. I think I kind of preferred him coming off the bench. So EJ's a really good teammate. He's a really athletic guy, long and rangy. Shoots the 3 well on offense, and sometimes gets some positions defensively where you're wanting to pull your hair out, and then sometimes he makes game-changing plays that nobody else would make. So yeah, he's just kind of our wild card, and his minutes are always going to be kind of in that 10 to 18 range, and he's done a really good job, and offensively he does a really good job of getting shooters the ball and looking for work offensively. One of our best screeners in our motion offense. So really appreciate EJ. Drew Kramer is, he was a true freshman last year. Minutes were up and down. Probably should have played him more than I did. We've got a great relationship. He works really hard at it. He's built kind of like Ethan Smith. He's 6'7", long. He's really bouncy, shoots the ball well, got a really high basketball IQ, super unselfish. And last year, just as a true freshman, like a lot of kids, just defensively, he had some learning to do. And towards the end of the season, we were playing him more and more. And conference tournament, he played really well, hit some big shots. And then first round of the national tournament, like I said, as a 18, 19-year-old true freshman, he played 20 minutes, had 10 points against Evangel, and thought that was really big for his development. It really helped our team win, and he's going to be a big part of what we do this year, whether he's starting or 6th, 7th, 8th man. He's going to be playing good minutes for us, and we're super excited about him.
Yeah, that national tournament experience is priceless.
I agree.
Yeah, especially for the young guys. You had a hole to fill. Also, you went out and got Earl Finch. He played over at University of West Alabama. Talk about his game.
Yeah, Calvin, Earl, whatever you want to call him, he kind of goes by whatever. He is a freak athlete. There's really no other way to put it. He can jump out of the gym. His motor is crazy. He plays a lot like Dennis Rodman. He's wild. He'll dunk everything. He's offensive rebounds. He's crazy. Obviously a very good rim protector. And then you just gotta reel him in and make sure he's that controlled crazy, right?
Yeah.
And use it for the benefit. So he's been great energy for practice, and a lot of those things that I mentioned are just super valuable at that spot. So and he's got a lot of college experience. 2 years at the junior college level, averaging close to a double-double on winning teams, and then last year on a conference championship Division II team in a good league in the Gulf South. So we're really excited about him, and he's got 2 guys, right with him with Jashavius Purdue and Stefan Martin. Stefan was a redshirt for us last year, and he's looked really good in preseason this year. And then JP, JP played, 15, 16 minutes a game for us last year, had to start both of our national tournament games. And he's he's kind of like I mentioned with Ray, just a phenomenal role player, rim protector, rebounds, finishes pick and rolls well around the rim. Never once since he's been here has complained a single day. Unbelievably coachable, makes good grades, just, the exact kind of guy you want in the program. So really excited about that spot. That's a hard spot to have at our level. Yeah. And again, we're not super tall, but I think that spot these last 2 years has been about as good as it's ever been here.
Coach, you mentioned the Evangel win. So last season you had a 31-4, or you went and ended up 31-4. You went to the round of 64. You had that super emotional win against Evangel, but you had a tough draw. You had to go to New Orleans, and so the next game you had to play Loyola in New Orleans. Did it ease the pain just a little bit knowing you dropped the game to Loyola in New Orleans?
Yeah, it's so funny because I was telling some of my coaching buddies before the bracket came out, I'm just telling you, we're going to New Orleans. I just know we're going to New Orleans. And me and Stacy are good friends, so we had talked throughout the year and, sort of joked about it. And we also had, the history because we were in the Southern States and had played those guys. And, yep. Matt's the same year as Miles Burns and Zach Wrightsville. All three of those guys were on the Southern States Freshman of the Year team way back in the day. Which shows how crazy good of a team that was. But anyway, like you said, amazing, emotional first game win. And we knew that second game was going to be super challenging. And what made it even more challenging, obviously, you mentioned that it's in New Orleans. That's tough. But, the lack of preparation time, it would have been impossible to simulate anyway. But, man, would I have loved to at least had 3-4 days to try and emulate that press. We literally had a 45-minute shoot around to get ready to try and simulate Loyola's press and how we want to guard them and still get shots in for the day. It was a really, really tough task. And I told our assistants before the game, I said, hey guys, good news is if we win this game, looks like we're winning the whole thing because there's not a harder game than beating in my opinion, the best team in the country at their place. It only can get easier from here.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were an amazing team, and I had very little doubt. I told Stacy in the handshake line, I said, you're going to win the whole thing, and and sure enough, they did. So that was a great year for them, and still for us too. Obviously, we're not ever excited about going home. That was really tough, but to answer your question, maybe it did make it a little easier when you kind of realize the significance of what they were doing and what kind of year they had. They lost one game, and Miles Burns didn't even play in that game. So they didn't lose a game all year with the team that was out there on the floor that beat us and ended up winning it all. That team was undefeated. So,
Coach, you play there in the Tampa area. What kind of fan support do you get? Do you get much media attention in that area? Talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Fan support is unbelievable.
Good.
Oh yeah, we fill out. We got one of those gyms that's only got bleachers on one side, which I'm not a huge fan of. But at the same time, man, does it get full. Our students fill up one entire, the left-hand side of it. And then, we just have supporters of the school and community and maybe parents. I don't know, who all makes it up, professors and whatnot. But that right side is rocking too. We were lucky enough to go 14-0 at home last year. And as much as I love to give our guys a ton of credit because they deserve it, but I honestly give the crowd, a handful of the share too, because I think they make us really hard to play at home. Yeah, attendance is great. And then as far as like local media goes, I would say there's, not a lot of that at all. Maybe it'll pick up. I'm not sure. But I'd say the most attention we get is from, the NAI Hoops Report guys right. and you and those guys that kind of cover our level nationally. And that's good enough for us. We're not too concerned about it.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that you get those fans. You cannot say enough about the smaller gyms. Sometimes it's a little frustrating because it'll get really crowded during a big game, but you go into a small gym in a big game and it's packed. My God, there's nothing like that.
I don't know. It might be the hardest thing to do. And, we play Ave Maria down in the Sun Conference, usually twice a year. Yeah. And they've had some gym issues the last 3 years. And I think even this year they'll still be playing in this backup gym because I think they had some black mold issues in their gym and they had to kind of restart. But they've been playing at this small little Catholic high school in town. This will be year 4, I think, doing that.
Wow, I didn't know
maybe
that.
Year 3. Yeah, maybe year 3 doing that, but it's been a while. So we went down there twice, and I mean the bleachers only go up probably 5 or 6 rows, but then they put people back on the stage, like the students are kind of back on the stage behind one of the rims.
Yeah.
And I mean it is just crazy tough to play, and somehow we've won there twice. I'm not sure how. But you talk to the coaches in the Sun Conference, and it's like, oh, man, I do not want to go play at that tiny little gym at Ave.
Coach, I got to tell you a really quick story. So, I follow Oregon Tech, and it was actually Coach Parnell's senior year. Oregon Tech was playing at Warner Pacific in Portland for the Cascade Championship. It was a last regular season game. Whoever won that game was going to be the champion of the Cascade Conference. And I mean, they literally shoehorned people in there. It probably holds 500. There was probably 600 in there, and it was stifling hot. It was loud. It ended up Oregon Tech won on kind of a last minute. Actually, it was some Parnell free throws they won on at the very, very end. But that really close, tight environment. I looked at my son as we walked out, and I go, where else can you have this much fun for $9? I mean, you just, or whatever it was at the time, 7, 8, I don't remember, but
absolutely,
it beat the heck out of a Blazer game. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely, man, that's incredible. What year was that?
Well, it was Parnell's senior year, so probably 10, maybe. Jared Valentine was a senior as well. He was a really good basketball player. His dad, Bart, coached there at Warner Pacific for years. In fact, they named the court after him as well. So
no, it's crazy how many good teams there are just across the country. Like, it's nuts trying to do that top 25 or even the field of 64 and seeing how many good teams you're leaving out. It's really nuts.
Yeah, and a lot of great history out there.
Absolutely. I've never been even out to the Pacific Northwest, but I need to get out there.
Coach, I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. You got to get past that round of 32 this year. I get to see you out in Kansas City. You got a really good team this season, and God willing, and the creek don't rise. I mean, you guys should have a great year. Man,
I would love nothing more. That would be amazing. I really appreciate it.
Well, that's Coach Chase Teichmann. He's the head men's basketball coach at Florida College. Coach, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks, Billy. Take care.
Hey, thank you to Coach Teichmann and to the Florida College program. Really appreciate him giving us the time. And please, if you can, please like and subscribe this podcast. And if you're anywhere in that Tampa area, get out there and support these Florida College Falcons. It's a great program. They put a great product on the floor. As a matter of fact, if you're anywhere near any NAI men's basketball program, get out there and support that program. And don't worry, you can still buy Joey shoes because NAI basketball is the best entertainment value in America.